You are listening to the Willpower Podcast. Welcome to the show. I am Will Holdren, and I talk with some of the most influential CEOs, entrepreneurial leaders, and thought leaders to try and reveal the secrets that has led to their success. I believe that with the right knowledge and mindset, you can do anything you set your mind to. So if you want to learn how to change your life for the better, if you want to learn how millionaires actually became wealthy, or if you want to develop and start your own business from the ground up with the right knowledge to help you, then you are in the right place because this is the Willpower Podcast.
Yeah. Nowhere that we go is a one-way street. Nothing that we love is a one-day key. And if we gon' do it, we gon' do this now. And if we say we gon' hold this down. Nowhere that we...
How's it going, everyone? My name is Will Holdren. I am the host of the Willpower Podcast. Today, our special guest is Keith Duble, and Keith is actually a EXP realtor and team leader based out of the Texas market. He was actually an Icon agent for 5 years in a row, which is an absolute honor to have him on here today. So, Keith, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, man, it's my pleasure.
Of course, man. Looking forward to this podcast. I just love talking with realtors and kind of figuring out why they got into the industry in the first place. So my first question for you is, what was your childhood like, and how has that helped turn you into who you are today?
My childhood, man, we went deep right out of the gate. My childhood. Well, you know, I moved around a lot as a kid. My dad was in the Army, and you know, he was a good man. You know, my parents, both of them, just I don't know, they didn't just settle, right? So they wanted me to work hard, and I don't know how well I did as a kid, but you know, those things are seeds that take time to, I think, render fruit. And as I got older, I think I had kind of the stuff of sorts, but didn't really know how to apply kind of the stuff until I found real estate, and it's just been a fit, I think, ever since I kind of dove in. I'm a little crazy. I think you need to be a little crazy to do well in this industry, and it gives me an outlet to be crazy. So
yeah, I love that. I think you need to be crazy to be successful as any entrepreneurial industry. So I love you brought that up.
Sure.
And so when you were growing up, did you always want to become like an entrepreneur and go into real estate, or did you have other aspirations?
I had no idea what real estate was. When I was growing up, I didn't really have any. Did you say if I had any desire to be an entrepreneur when I was growing up?
Yeah. Yep.
You know, not really, man. No, I didn't really have any drive. I just knew that as I got into the real world, I was psychologically unemployable. I just wasn't very good at conforming. And I just realized I needed to do my own thing. So, you know, just working well with others has never been a terribly big strong suit, which is kind of ironic because when you run a team, you do. I feel like we run a really well-oiled machine, but on my own, working for corporations just wasn't really a good fit for me.
Gotcha. And so I love what you said about psychologically unemployable. And I feel like there's so many kids out there that want to go down that same path, like entrepreneurship. They don't really want to do that 9-to-5 job, but they kind of like a hard time, like finding their way kind of into entrepreneurship right at the gate. And so for you, like, how did your parents take it when you told them that? Or did you have a corporate job coming out of high school or after college? And then how did you end up actually in real estate?
Well, I was an adult and well out of my home. I had just come out of the United States Navy, and I was actually on a career track for nursing. I actually really wanted to go into healthcare, and I love the idea of kind of serving people in a hospital setting. But kind of an interesting turn of events. My wife and I. We had a little girl, and we already decided that if we were going to have another child, that my wife would stay home. So fast forward 3.5 years, and I had done full-time school, finally got accepted into nursing. I'd been working like crazy, a full-time job, 3 part-time jobs, a business. And after grinding, I came home and I told my wife I got accepted into nursing school, and she told me she was pregnant. So she was like, oh, you know, so which meant I couldn't go to nursing school because if Judy was going to stay home, my wife was going to stay home and not work and support us financially while I was in nursing school. Like, there's no way I could do it. So that's actually how we fell into real estate. So I don't know if I answered the question, but that's kind of how all that played out. So
Yeah, no worries, no worries. And that's definitely an interesting turn of events. Obviously, like you said, you want to become a nurse and then you go into real estate directly out of that, which there's not like a strong correlation between the two. But it's amazing you found your way into real estate anyway that way. So once you
yeah,
started real estate, were you with EXP right out of the gate, and how did that first year go for you?
I was not. I was not with EXP. Actually, it was at Keller Williams, and it was a kind of a funny story. But do you know who Gene Frederick is?
I do not.
So Gene, he is, I think he's the number 2 influencer at EXP. He used to be with Keller Williams. He owned 6 franchises, and he sold them all to come to Keller. And he also
Wow.
my market center leader. So Keller Williams location headquarters is in Austin, Texas. And so I was at the Northwest Market Center, which is kind of hubbed in with the headquarters, so to speak. And so he was my market center leader, and he brought me into his office, and he was like, "Hey man, congrats. You just got nominated Rookie of the Year." And it was my first year in real estate. And I was like, this is amazing. I was like, but I was kind of shocked. And he was like, I said, so does that mean I've made more money maybe than people before or after me, in a window of time or something? Like, what is that? And he was like, well, yeah, I guess you could say that. And I said, well, then I'm leaving KW. And he was like, what? I said, I'm broke. Like, I thought I was like the worst guy here. You're telling me I'm the best guy here? And he was like, wow, that's not how I thought it would go. But anyway, yeah, so I ended up, I really appreciated, kind of like the whole model that, what they did and so forth. But the numbers wise didn't really work out for me. And Keller is a great company for a lot of people, but it just at the time, it wasn't a fit for me. And so I left there. I went to another boutique firm. It was 90-10, and I stayed there for a long time, and I did really well there. It was a 90-10 split. And then I found out about EXP through my sponsor, Elizabeth Riley, and she talked to me, and she was like, you got to look at this model. And I fell in love with it instantly. And then my first year, they did Icon a little bit different my first year. And my first year, so this is my 12th year in real estate. So 5 years ago when I came to EXP, I actually was eligible to get Icon. So I would have been 6-time Icon, but I did not notify them because I thought they were going to notify me. And by the time I had the 2 minutes to breathe, look up, 3 months had passed. And I was like, guys, this Icon thing. And they were like, dude, you missed the boat a long time ago. And I'm like, oh no. So I actually would have had another 16 grand in stock at like $1.25 or something.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
I totally blew that one, but yeah, this is my 5th year as an Icon, but I just loved it. It's been a great company for my wife and I.
Yeah. Well, their stock has definitely exploded over the last couple of years. So,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
been pretty impressive.
yeah, 5-time Icon agent isn't too shabby. So that's pretty good.
Thanks,
Um,
dude.
and so when you were starting out, like you said, you got qualified for Rookie of the Year with Keller Williams. Obviously, you went to the boutique brokers. You're doing really well there. And looking over the course of like new real estate agents when they come into the industry, most of them end up quitting or can't do it after like 1 or 2 years. So, kind of talk to me, like, how did you kind of separate yourself from the pack, and what were you doing differently to become successful right out of the gate?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. I just went bananas, man. I actually, I started off doing it the wrong way, and I think maybe that's the most valuable way to learn to do it the right way. For me, the wrong way was doing the cold calls and the door knocking, and I was told like that's what you do.
Right.
And I was like, okay. And I didn't know any better. So I just went bananas. I was knocking on every door I saw, and I was on every phone I find. And I mean, while I had some success with it, I hated my life. I didn't want to get out of bed. I was like, this real estate thing is the worst. And I just had no fun. My life was terrible, and I was stressed all the time because I didn't want to get up and go dial for dollars. And I hated it. And so finally, my wife and I, we had a little bit of success, and we kind of used that to kind of change things up a little bit. And we started doing like reorienting our efforts to just focus on people. And we started doing more like client events and more like in-person things, and just loving on people that we knew. We stopped making it about real estate. When you make a cold call, it's about real estate, and that's totally fine. It's a super efficient way to try to generate business. There's zero wrong with cold calls. But when you're making it about people, it's about people, and this business is about people. And it's very little about real about people just need problems solved that happen to do with real estate, and you get to be that person to help them. But none of that happens unless they like you, and in order to get somebody to know, like, and trust you, you got to love on them. And that's where we just tried to start coming from contribution, coming from service, and really just spending more time loving on people that we wanted to serve. And that's how we just reoriented our kind of our compass, so to speak, to come from contribution and really just love on people. So when we did that, Zig Ziglar says, you help enough people get what they want, and eventually you'll get what you want. So that's kind of where we were trying to come from, not to get what we want, but really just to give people what they want. That was the heart and soul of all of our initiatives. So I think that when these things just started clicking, and year over year, business just started growing and growing and growing, and we stopped having to worry about all of the things that people struggle with, with how to get more business. It just started coming naturally because, we were on people just really the genuine difference. As a matter of fact, we just had a recent client appreciation event. She wasn't able to come. One of my first listing 12 years ago, her name was Ramona, and she still comes to all my client appreciation events. We just, we do a couple of massive ones every year. We just rented out a movie theater for Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, and we fill it with 120 people, and we give everybody drinks and dinner, and we rent out an entire movie theater. It's so awesome. And we give away tons of cash and do all these fun prizes. Our sponsors come and highlight. It's a blast. And I still have my first clients coming and being a part of these things. So it's really just kind of changed the entire game for us, just coming from that contribution and putting people first.
Gotcha. No, that is absolutely amazing. And I love that, we have that as like your center point of like your business. Like, I want to help you first, and the money's going to come second. So the money coming first, it changes everything, just like you're talking about. You guys really do make it sound so easy. Like, oh, I'll just do this and this and this, and then just compound. And look, now you're growing like this awesome, huge real estate team. Obviously, like, from your experience, like, why do you think most new real estate agents are struggling in the beginning, or like, why are they struggling to, just gain business at the beginning, just like you're talking about, instead of just doing what you're talking about? Like, they come from a helping standpoint, and then it's just going to grow naturally. Like, what are they doing wrong?
Well, I don't know what everybody's doing wrong, but I would say I knew what I was doing wrong after a while. But I would if you're new in the business and you're struggling, and I would just say, find what really motivates you and figure out how to incorporate that. My wife and I, we would do a ton of stuff at my kids' schools. There's a program called Watchdogs. It's called Dads of Great Students. It's an acronym, right? So it's a program that gets men in the schools. And after Columbine years ago, there was that school shooting in Columbine. They started the program getting men involved. And so it came to our county in Texas. And I was like, dude, I'm all in, let's go. So I wasn't really doing it to get business, but I just started plugging into the school. I would take my guitar into the classroom, and I would just play songs for the kids, and I'd be a celebrity. I'd go to Target, and these kids would go, oh my God, there's the Watchdog guy. And the parents would come over and shake my hand, and I'd get business. I mean, it was just crazy. So I would say, find what are you enjoying, and just make that about what you're plug in and serve people in that way. And then I would also say, this business is not for the faint of heart. And it's not for everybody. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe you're not doing well, and it's your 10th year not doing well. I'd say you're probably in the wrong industry. This is a business that, you have to really grind. You can't just give it halfway. Part-time agents don't really, explode, right? I mean, and that's okay. Real estate is not meant to have everybody who does it become a mega, right? It's meant to supplement for some people, but maybe be the primary income for some other people. But I would say do what you love and do it in real estate. That's what's beautiful about owning your own business. And the second thing I would say, just really assess, is this really up your alley? Is this something, that's a fit for you? And don't just do this because you think that there's big dollar signs, because if money's your motivation, you're not going to get anywhere.
Right. And honestly, I think that's one of the main reasons why most agents end up dropping out, because money was their main motivation coming into this, and they realize, oh, it's going to take me maybe 8 months for me to get my first deal, and then they just lose all that motivation to stick with it, and they just end up dropping out. So
absolutely, yeah. And it's also just, it's very hard. It's a
Yeah.
very, very difficult industry, and it's getting harder. It's definitely getting harder. So people are different than they were 10 years ago. I mean, the business is different than it was 10 years ago. And so, yeah, you've got a lot of competition now, a lot of these iBuyers and big, mega buyers. And I mean, commission compression. And just by kind of one more note, I don't know if, I'm sure you have another question too. I was just going to say, with regard to like commission compression, or we call it commission reduction, is, all of the, like the Redfins of the world that are paying 2.5%, that's like, hey, if people are watching that and they're saying, actually, hey, that house still sold, even though it was 2.5%, like, how are you going to, as an agent, protect your commission from all of the compression factors that are happening to, to agents out there, right? So it's like, it's just, these are things that we have to be mindful of, and bring our value and know our value.
Yeah, that's also a very great point. And so for you personally, obviously you did really well as an individual agent and you decided to grow a team. I feel like there's so many people that are in that stage as well. They're trying to grow that team. So for you personally, like, how hard was it for you to kind of start growing your team, and when did you realize that, okay, I want to start bringing on agents and I want to take this thing to the next bigger level?
Yeah. So at our biggest, we had 9 agents on our team, and we structure our team just a little bit differently, and we've actually decided to streamline things, and we've actually found that most teams are not profitable. You have to produce a tremendous amount of leads for your team, and you have to provide resources and support. There's also a lot of liability. So with your name being on somebody else's sign, that you want them to be a professional, but you never know when they're under pressure, how are they going to perform? And, are they going to represent your team well, your ethics well, your canons, your standards? Are they going to perform at the same customer service level? These are all things that you don't know when you put them, in the team. You hope and you vet, you try to really kind of figure that out early, but sometimes you just don't know. So there is a lot of like missed opportunity for money when you have a team, because, it just, again, it costs a lot of money to operate a team, and you're hoping that kind of the numbers come back to you in time. So actually what my wife and I have done is we've scaled back, and now it's just me, my wife, and we have a full-time contract to close person. And while the numbers are smaller, the profits are much higher. And so, and there's also much less stress and much less liability. And so it's been a huge, now I still support and serve those agents, but it's really been kind of a huge kind of like weight off your chest, so to speak, when you have the freedom to operate your own setting with you and your wife and your own transaction coordinator, and the checks. Actually, you get to keep a lot more of your money when you're not spending so much on lead gen and pay-per-clicks and all of these different online resources that you try to provide for folks that are on your team. So, but yeah, did that answer the question for you?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's such a good point too, where you're pretty much saying bigger isn't always better. And just like you're saying, you got to find that perfect amount of per people where you're going to maximize your profits and still have like a good amount of business coming in. So I'm glad you brought that up, and it's cool to see you found that perfect number for your particular business.
Yeah.
So I just have a couple more questions for you. So one, obviously this market is absolutely insane right now. It's a hot seller's market. So do you have any like tips that maybe you and your team use to help your buyers and maybe your buyers' offers get accepted when there's probably 10 offers on that particular listing? Like, do you have any tips that kind of help those offers get accepted?
Yes. I mean, I would say so. Some of the things that, so we're certified mentors with EXP, and we're constantly getting those questions. What do I do to get my offer accepted? And I'll just start and say, you very well may not get your offer accepted, and you just might have to be okay with that. There is no magic formula. And that's number one. Number two is that the buyer is the one making the offer. You're just putting it on paper and you're helping them craft it. But the buyer is the one making the offer. And at the end of the day, the buyer either has to feel super comfortable doing what they're doing, and they're not going to be comfortable, and they're going to play it very close to the vest, so to speak. And in this market, you really can't play it close to the vest. So the most important thing that I would just encourage any agent to do if they're trying to compete in a very competitive marketplace, particularly seller's marketplace, is make sure that the client knows the contract. They know the safeties, they know the risks, and they know where they can fudge the lines, so to speak. I'm not talking about fudging the lines in an illegal way or anything like that. What I'm saying is just know how the safeties overlap so that if you remove one, they're still protected, right? So we don't need to go in there with all of the various things checked in the buyer's favor. Like, we can give some stuff up and still be in a very good place. And then also, like, make sure that the product. Your product is your marketplace. You got to know your marketplace, and you can say, hey, look, this price on this house it has an asking price of this. I think it's very, very likely it'll appraise for this. We can do this and offer with this over above asking amount, and we can remove these particular safety features. And I think you're still going to be very protected. And so if people feel comfortable and they feel comfortable putting in an aggressive offer, I mean, a lot of times this is the first time home buyers are coming into this market. If they have the resources, they're competing and they're doing this for the first time, it's terrifying. So the more comfortable you can make your clients, the more comfortable they'll feel participating and even taking some risk, provided that they know they've got a good realtor protecting them and looking out for them. And if you can instill that confidence in your buyer, you'll have a lot more success getting your offers accepted.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And so, kind of going off of that, do you teach agents to kind of put multiple offers down on multiple different houses at the same time, or is that frowned upon for you guys? Like, what would you recommend?
Yeah, it's allowed. You can put as many offers in as you want to. I just had this conversation with one of my mentees yesterday. He put 4 offers in on 4 different houses, and his concern was, well, what if they all get accepted? And I said, well, then you've got 4 option checks, to write. Right. But that's very uncommon. I mean, that's the thing is I was telling him, like, if first of all, if you put 4 offers in on 4 houses, it's very unlikely even 2 of them are going to accept at the same time. It's very unlikely between the times that they need to receive the offer and review the offer and get back to you. Very unlikely. But if in the event that they, or you do have a major concern that, you've talked to a couple of the agents and they kind of have similar times for reviewing and responding, it very well could be that 2 of them accept at the same time. Well, in that instance, I would say, well, which one do you want more? And that's the one you want to be the most aggressive. Again, unlikely that both of them accept at the same time. All you have to do is withdraw your offer with an email, to the other 3 if one of the 4 gets accepted and you're out. So that's what I would say. 100%. Put the money on the one you want the most.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great answer. Wish you had more time, but I really appreciate you hopping on here today. I think you gave us a lot of really great information.
For sure, man.
So before we hop off, is there anything else you would like to say? And if people want to reach out to you, how can they find you?
No, Will, you're a beast, man. Go get it. Appreciate the time. Thanks for letting me be able to chat with you today.
Appreciate it. All right, guys, there you have it. Keith Duble, thank you so much for joining me today.
All right, man.
Nowhere that we go is a one-way street. Nothing that we love is a one-day key. And if we gon' do it, we gon' do this now. And if we say we gonna